we'll talk about the sort of latest instalment in your sort of backstory, but loads of people interested in what went on this weekend and whether the right couple has gone, because Vic was one of the favourites, wasn't she, to actually win the whole thing?
Yeah, and she's fantastic. You know, I voted for her to stay in, obviously, but the other judges made the decision, and Shirley had to make the ultimate decision in the end, and she chose Sean, which is absolutely fine. I think equally they were very good. I think equally they both improved in the dance-off, which was great. But it's down to personal taste, I suppose, in the end. You know, I just preferred that one dance. You know, I think technically they were both pretty abysmal, to be honest, but...
this is great.
No, but it is true.
The real great.
No, but it is true.
Right.
So I just went for the one I liked the best on the night.
And I love the way, and you can explain to us whether you are playing the devil's advocate or what your comments are brilliantly acerbic.
No, well, I just talk about actually what I see and try and speak a little bit for the nation in that way and put it in layman's terms for everyone to understand, I suppose. And I really don't have a lot of time to actually speak and get my opinion across.
How long do you reckon you have?
I have about 10 to 20 seconds. It does depend, however, if Bruno was on the panel. And as we had Alfonso, darling, I got 20 seconds or 25 seconds to speak. And I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He provided such a great and wonderful energy to the show. So it was wonderful.
I think the thing is, because Naga was obviously a former contestant, and I think you were quite harsh to her on occasions. But one thing, I think... But I think
she needed help, darling. She did.
But I think in your defence, because Naga would say you were cruel, but you say it's about judging you. I'm not judging you as a person. I'm judging you as a dancer.
Yes.
If I don't think you're very good at dancing, I will sort of give you a verbal slap.
Yeah, when you're on the show, darling, you'll know all about it, of course.
It's never going to happen, Craig.
Yes, it will. Believe me, it will. No, I think it's better to be honest. I mean, if you said to an Olympic champion, if their trainer was training them, and they just say, oh, no, don't worry about that, you know, or don't worry about that last hurdle.
But
you'd be worried. You know, you want to know that your technique is right, you know, in order to win. And I think it's important to be honest with everyone so they can come back the following week and actually improve and have something to work on that week as well.
And they do seem to listen. Everybody who takes part do genuinely listen to what the judges say, and that's the important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you have to. Number one, you have to be able to take criticism. You have to. I take it all my life, darling. I'm constantly being criticised, you know, in directing and choreographing, and you know, I get to employ at least the people that that I put in my show, so I know already they're going to be fantastic. So, unlike the show that I'm presently working on, Strictly Come Dancing, I don't employ them, so I get what I get, darling.
Yeah. The other thing I enjoyed in this series is that the whole Sean and Katja thing, which everybody was trying desperately not to talk about. And then in the programme, you're one of the few who actually said...
Well, it's hard to avoid, really, isn't it?
But everybody's talking about it, so you have to reference it. And you called it the Dance of Shame, didn't you?
Yes, well, I thought at least give it a title, so then come out, do it, like anyone would if you had kissed, you know, your boss at the Christmas party. You've got to come in on Monday if you want to get paid. And this is a profession, it's a job, and we have to remind ourselves the celebrities and dancers are being paid to do a job, so come in, do the job. I think it would have been worse if they hadn't have come in.
Right.
You know, I think, get on with it, and they've done it, and I think it's great, you know, and they're winning the day.
They're what? They're winning the...
Winning the day.
Right. I mean, you have commented, I think you've commented, correct me if I'm wrong, on whether or not the kiss should have happened.
Well, I always think that a teacher and a pupil should treat it as such. So I think if I was the teacher, I would put a stop to it. Say, oh, no, no, no. No, darling.
Not here.
Not here. Not now.
I want to ask you one other thing about Strictly, but also, in reading your latest instalment of your autobiography...
Yes.
Is it number 3?
Strictest Confidence. Yes, it's my trilogy, darling.
Your trilogy.
Soon to be made into a film. If anyone out there wants to make it. I don't know who'd play me, though.
Well, interesting, you talk a lot about your relationship with your dad.
Yeah.
For those who might not have read it or don't know much about it, explain how that worked, because alcohol was... It was his thing, wasn't it? And it caused all sorts of problems.
Yeah, he was an alcoholic, a desperate alcoholic, and an abusive one. At that, you know, mental abuse and sometimes physical. But I grew up with that my whole life, so I didn't really know anything different, really. And, of course, it culminated in him sort of with a shotgun and then a rifle, you know, trying to kill my brother-in-law, which was horrific. He went to prison, then he was let out, and then he went to AA for 4 years, but then he started drinking again. And, of course, it's dealing with his death and how you feel about it, you know, for the person largely that you hated but loved the sober dad, you know. I think it was really difficult to actually write about it, number one, talk about it, number two, with my family as well, and sort of coming to terms with his death and how you remember someone. I think that's sort of important. The book is not all about that. That's one of the chapters, obviously. You know, there's fun stuff in it as well. And, you know, about a day in the life of a drag queen and how I get ready, you know, for Miss Hannigan. You know, so there are really light, funny stories and, of course, backstage stories.
I like the stories about your house.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
Well, I thought, yes, I'll move to the country. It's going to be lovely. Well, it wasn't. I was out of my house, living in a hotel for a year because I had an enormous internal flood because of copper pipes, darling, but still. You know,
such is life.
British Telecom, all sorts of drama with the internet. It hasn't stopped, but please know I am online now, and it's faster than it was. Yeah,
right,
it's only just happened yesterday.
It's only yesterday?
Yes, it's been a year.
It's always great to have someone on like you today when you're in the papers being quoted for something, and I can check it with you.
Yeah.
Okay, because this says, Craig hauled over the coals. Apparently you've been warned by Strictly Bosses for something you said during your book tour. You've been having a pop at Bruno. I imagine you had a bit of a laugh at Shirley's expense.
I mean, I have to say, isn't there more pressing news? A journalist has been murdered. Wouldn't that be better to put on the front of the paper, you know, in my opinion, you know, in a consulate? Brexit, let's talk about that, something that's actually going to change our lives. You know, it worries me with journalism nowadays in that respect. You know, I really sort of don't like it, to be honest. But, you know, I think there's other things to talk about that are far more important than that particular story.
Well, thank you very much indeed.
Can I ask you who your favourite Strictly contestant ever is? She's about to come up, by the way.
Naga.
Carol's on. Carol.
Oh, Carol. Oh, yeah. Right. I think we'll talk about Naga behind the camera's back. Because there's a story in the book about her.
Yes.
Let's not mention it.
Right.
They can read it.
But your favourite is Carol.
I get into too much trouble, darling. I really do.
Craig's book. Thank you so much for coming. It's lovely to see you, by the way. Craig's book is called In Strictest Confidence.